I think that the most accurate answer to this question is that it changes from one person to another. But if you think of signals as a bucket, and you're trying to split them into you need to pursue now compared to you need to continue targeting this person with ads or nurturing this person with content. So I think that the most reasonable split is between the third-party intent and the first-party intent. Now, when an engineer, when a developer enters your website and explores your docs, it means that this person has a high intent to try out your product. And it makes sense, because an engineer wouldn't like to read the feature pages that the marketing team, with all due respect to the marketing team, I'm managing one, has written. It's not interesting to them. It's not the ground truth. The ground truth is the things that are actually existing within the product. And the things that are actually existing within the product are written probably in the docs by a technical person who is very similar to them. So this first-party intent docs exploration, product sign-up, or even downloads from your GitHub repository of open source projects would be a great signal for me to pursue this specific person with physical outreach, targeted ads, you name it.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Modern DevGTM Brew. I'm your host Achintya. Today we'll be speaking about a very interesting topic, and that is account-based marketing, or ABM, for developer-focused marketers. Our guest today is Shai Alani. Shai currently serves as the VP of Marketing at Aporia, an award-winning AI-controlled platform. Shai is a seasoned marketer with over 12 years of proven track record in driving revenue growth in global startups through account-based marketing and data-driven insights. Shai, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you here.
Thank you, Jane. Good to be here. Genuinely excited. I think that talking about the complexities and the day-to-day of dev marketeers is something important, and I'm happy that you've raised the glove.
Amazing. So I just want to actually start with getting the basics right. Like a lot of B2B marketers use the term ABM very loosely. It's almost used for everything. But I just wanted to start with that as an ABM practitioner for a long time now. What do you see account-based marketing actually means, and what it is, and most importantly, what it is not?
So it's a very good question. I think that ABM has become the buzzword for marketeers for the past, I don't know, 3 to 4 maybe 5 years. Because if you think of it, marketing has evolved dramatically in the past 20 years or so. So marketing, traditionally speaking, if you look at Mad Men or any of these old marketing shows, you see most of the times advertisements being delivered through the traditional media. So
Yeah.
you have newspapers, you have TV, and you have the radio. So this broad media is the old-fashioned practice of marketing. You're delivering a message to a broad audience, and you're trying to capture the ones that are actually physically able to buy your product. If you think of it, ads at prime time that we watch, 8 p.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, it depends where you're based in the world, are not efficient because they are being delivered to a lot of people who can't actually buy your product or not interested in buying your product. And then around 20 years ago, when online marketing started, we started to be more and more focused on the media we buy, on the audience that we're targeting to. And then I think this really spiked in hunger for marketeers like us that has been in the market for the past 10, 12 years or so to think of how can I reach not to a person who is a part of a Facebook segment or searches for a specific keyword on Google. How can I reach an audience that is way more specific than an audience or a keyword searches? And then ABM has become a thing. So you're thinking not at the intent level, so not at a keyword, not as a segment, at a company level. Now, this mindset really enables you to focus on advertising to companies that you really are able to acquire. So that's ABM. Account-based marketing is basically being able to market, to sell, to promote yourself to a specific audience of companies. And there are multiple methodologies of how to practice ABM. So that's kind of the history of ABM and how it started.
That's great, Shai. And in the same spirit of our topic being account-based marketing for developer-focused marketers, I also wanted to understand probably the other part of it. How do you see developer-focused marketing being different as compared to traditional marketing? We have spoken about account-based marketing. Let's speak about that too.
Yeah. So developer-focused ABM is completely different. And I think that, so we said that ABM is being able to market to a specific company, but how do you do it? ABM systems, traditionally speaking, are based on two parts, two pillars. The first part is signal. So what is being triggered in order to show me, the system operator, that this person is relevant to me. Traditionally speaking, ABM platforms are capturing signals from your website, from the broad media, people who read content on New York Post. Now, these signals are good if you want to acquire a businessman, a GTM specialist, a marketeer, even someone from revenue management, accounting, operations, or you name it. But the acquisition journey or the decision-making journey for developers is completely different. Now, the second pillar, the second component is as important, if not more. What do I do with this information? How do I promote myself, promote my company to these very specific audiences, very specific companies who were engaged with either third-party assets or first-party assets? And what do I say to them? So an example for this could be, I'm operating an ABM system. This ABM system got signals from both third-party assets, articles, and first-party assets, my website, that someone is interested. This company is relevant to me because they can buy. And now I can target this very specific company with ads. That's classic ABM, and this is how it operates. That's the common practice. Now, developer-focused ABM is completely different because developers are not entering your website to explore. They're not reading general journalism about innovation in marketing in the New York Post.
Yeah.
Their buying journey is completely different. Therefore, the signals that is being required in order to trigger their emotion are completely different. Now, you need to have experience in developer marketing in order to understand the level of difference because it's massive. The buying journey is completely different than ours as marketeers or other businessmen. They're used to search for solutions on open source tools or open source platforms like GitHub. They're used to read your docs before even entering your homepage. These types of signals require a different mindset. And it's a new and mandatory mindset for us as developer marketeers to understand. On the other side, you have the action. What are you doing with this information? How can you leverage this information into a physical action that would convince this developer that your solution is relevant to? So classic ABM wouldn't work on developers. You need a completely different mindset.
And I think you spoke about some very interesting things. One is sort of the intent signals that are focused on developers, and then sort of what you do once you get this intent signal. Let's dive deeper into them. So what are the kind of intent signals you have seen working best for you across the companies or across experience, that you see that, okay, this is something that's an intent signal and I need to go after this account?
Yeah, so I think that the most accurate answer to this question is that it changes from one person to another. But if you think of signals as a bucket and you're trying to split them into you need to pursue now compared to you need to continue targeting this person with ads or nurturing this person with content. So I think that the most reasonable split is between the third-party intent and the first-party intent. Now, when an engineer, when a developer enters your website and explores your docs, it means that this person has a high intent to try out your product. And it makes sense because an engineer wouldn't like to read the feature pages that the marketing team, with all due respect to the marketing team, and I'm managing one, has written. It's not interesting to them. It's not the ground truth. The ground truth is the things that are actually existing within the product. And the things that are actually existing within the product are written probably in the docs by a technical person who is very similar to them. So this first-party intent docs exploration, product sign-up, or even downloads from your GitHub repository of open source projects would be a great signal for me to pursue this specific person with physical outreach, targeted ads, you name it. That's a good signal for me to kind of double down the efforts on acquiring this person because he's familiar with me. He saw the brand. He saw its capabilities. He might be at a decision level, a decision-making fork that he needs to either sign up, integrate, invest efforts, or not. And that's the right point for me as the marketing leader to kind of convince him and throw him over the edge. So that's the first party intent. The third party intent is also a great signal, but that for me and from my experience, physically pursuing third party intent developers or developers who trigger the third party intent signals would not be the right move because developers are very smart. And they understand quickly that something is wrong if you're trying to, physically pursue them through outreach once they interacted with a different vendor or a different solution that is similar to yours. The things that are required from us is to continue nurturing this person with relevant content and maybe even a comparison between the solution that he tried out and what you are able to deliver and bring to the table. So that's how I would split the signals, if it answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And Shai, then coming to the next part of it, the other part, which is once you start seeing intent signals, what do you do? And a couple of sort of playbooks you're speaking about is running, say, targeted ads and campaigns, while the sort of a general perception in the market is that developers don't respond that well to advertisements, right? What are the best practices you have seen here when it comes to sort of using traditional tooling of campaigns, but for a newer audience like developers?
Yeah, so I'll answer this question, but let me just roll back a bit. I think that the change of mindset we need to do as developer marketeers is that the person on the other side is not thinking from a commercial perspective. So running ads that says buy this, get this, usually doesn't work. So I have almost 13 years of experience doing marketing through various startups that targeted various audiences, from classic B2C to a B2B to even B2G, like targeting governments and convincing them to buy a product or a solution. And the things that is very similar for all of these audiences is that in one way or another, we can we can sit down, have a creative session and understand what this person is looking for, or what this person is looking to achieve, or what would be the decision-making trigger for them to try out a product or not. Because the mindset is commercially driven, but developers are not commercially driven. Developers are triggered by different things. What could save me time? What could save me efforts? What could shorten the task that I'm working on, or what could validate that what I'm doing is accurate and to the point. So in order to do it, in order to convince them to try out your product, after you've read the signals correctly, you have the third party, you have the first party, you want to target these people through ads, I think that the next step would be to ask yourself, how do I leverage the signals, the interest, to free value for them to have. Value could be in the shape of content. So if, let's say that I'm a developer and I want to test out Aporia sells guardrails, and an open source solution, an open source alternative for Aporia would be Nemo guardrails. If I would see a signal of someone starring the Nemo guardrails package on GitHub, the next reasonable step for me would be to trigger an ad that would highlight the differences between Aporia and Nemo. And this could be a great action point for them to get free value, free content that is relevant to the signals that they just showed me. If I would see someone interacting with the docs directly and being curious about detection engine of Gen AI agents errors, as an example. Someone curious about how things work. The reasonable next step for me would be to target him an ad that, I don't know, sends him to a recorded webinar that talks about this specific topic. Trying to target these two people, these two signals, with buy now, book a demo, or even sign up, would probably never trigger their emotion enough, or would be a close achievement, like the immediate value that they need in order to be triggered to an action.
Makes sense. And in this journey of, say, providing value to the developer, what is the stage where you see that, okay, this account is ready to buy, right? I mean, because by the end of the day, you are looking at revenue output. What's the playbook for that when you start seeing that?
It's a great question, and I think that there's no single way to do it, but how we do it here at Aporia, and from my past experiences, trying to map signals from ABM solutions on a chart with two axes. So the first axe, like the X itself, is the quality, and the second axe is the quantity. Ideally, we would love that would have all signals on the top right corner. A lot of signals and very high quality ones. So a lot of, like, a person who visits my docs, the free product, my GitHub repository a lot of times, and also visits different ones. This shows me that this person is ready to buy. But we also can have a lot of third-party signals, or a few first-party signals. What we want to do is make sure that we leverage this data in order to split our resources. We don't want to target someone who interacted with a third party or who triggered a third party a signal once or twice. We want to make sure that we allocate our resources and double down on people who are at the top right corner.
I agree.
We want to nurture the ones on the top left or the bottom right, and we want to see how things evolve on the bottom left corner. So splitting the audience to 4 quadrants and then allocating the resources accordingly. And once we're seeing a shift, a motion between the top left or the bottom right to the top right corner, this is a great signal for us that a person is willing to buy. And this is kind of the Slack notification that we're all waiting for. You have this person, he moved to the top right corner. That's the right time to address him and to convince him to buy what we're selling.
Got it. Amazing. And Shai, this is very useful. Perhaps my last question here is, and this is what I generally ask all the guests in my podcast, is what are some of the best books, podcasts, and other resources you recommend for developer marketers out there?
Yeah, so I think, as I've said before, developer marketing was not an easy transition for me to have. Because the mindset is completely different. So I think that for people who are in this community or are exploring an opportunity within the developer marketing landscape, first, kudos. You're making a not an easy to make decision. So that's one. And two, I think that reading and understanding first the landscape that you're entering is my best advice. So before reading general content about developer marketing and how to address this audience and what types of changes that do you need to have on your mindset, learn the field that you're entering. For me, the AI domain was an uncharted territory. It still is because it constantly evolves, but this helped me understand what are the pains of the audience that I'm trying to acquire. So that's my first advice. Then there is good content around developer marketing. I think that there's a good community building up the dev marketing community on Slack. There's the Developer Marketing Alliance that creates some good content, and I think that's it. Learning the landscape itself is a good move, because it's not a matter of best practices. It's a matter of actually understanding the person that you're selling to and his pain points on a day-to-day basis. So it's not an easy learning to have. It's not an easy learning to make. But that's my best advice. Then just go ahead and read whatever you can, because it's a constantly evolving field.
Awesome. This is very useful, Shai. I think, this gives us a lot to think about. But yeah, thanks so much for spending time with us. And yeah, I think personally I got to learn a lot. Thanks once again.
Sure, and thank you, Achin. I appreciate it. I think that the developer marketing community is still building up. Knowledge hubs and knowledge places are not an easy to find thing, and having this podcast and having talented people talking. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the other ones that
No, absolutely.
that were here.
Definitely.
But having this is very helpful for people who think to make this move, and people who made this move and ask yourself, what have I done? Because it's not an easy marketing field. I can say that for sure.
Amazing. Yeah. See you then. Thanks once again.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.